Mom, Dad, we're having guests tomorrow. Brian shone like a polished samovar and looked slyly at his parents. Hosts? Hosts are good, said the father. What guests? Caught up the mother. Oh well, what are you, Brian? At the very last moment you say, well, you should warn us. We have to cook, and maybe bake a pie. Mother fussed. Seagull? Yes, Mom, you don't have to cook too much. Linda doesn't eat too much. She keeps her figure. Linda? Mom suddenly froze. What Linda? My girlfriend. That's our guest. Yes? Mother pressed her lips together. Why do my father and I only find out now that you have a girlfriend? And you're making up some kind of introduction? I thought your guys were coming. I wanted to call Nancy. What are you doing? Mom, what do you mean? Why? Brian's a grown-up boy. What are you doing? Nothing. Just sit tight. Linda was very nervous before meeting her future relatives. Brian proposed to her, asking her parents for her hand in marriage the old-fashioned way. Papa felt sorry. Mama was flattered. Parents liked Brian. Good, smart, well-mannered, has no bad habits. Drank a shot of cognac with his father. Talked about everything from politics, ending with the roof of the bathhouse, which is at the dacha 40 kilometers from the city. What a son-in-law. One can only dream of such a son-in-law. What a daughter. What a good girl. Mom smiled merrily, looking at Linda, who was blushing and clearing the table. Mom, the girl whispered, isn't Brian good? Good, good, Mom said encouragingly. Linda's older brother Vlad and his wife Vera also liked Brian. Hooray, hooray, clapped her hands pregnant Vera. We'll be family friends. Now Vlad will not be bored. In general, everything was going well. Successfully until the moment came to introduce Linda to his parents. The moment that Brian delayed as long as he could. The registry office has already been applied for. Mother put on her best outfit, put on all the decorations, shone like a Christmas tree. All asked Linda what her parents work, and how much she earns herself. Don't forget, Nancy is on your conscience, said her mother and stopped talking. Brian grimaced. Mom, let's not do it. Eh? What do you mean? Let's not. It's your blood, your own nephews. Or what are you? Are you trying to take it out on us? Mother, the father shouted. Let's do it later. Having seen Linda home, Brian returned to find the picture he had envisioned. In the hallway, the smell of sedatives. She sprays them or something, thought the guy. Angry mother, with a towel on her head, angrily smoking father on the balcony. Dad, what's wrong? He looked out on the balcony. Ah! Father waved his hand. Concert by request. It's a pity that the audience couldn't stand it. Father smiled pathetically. I'm sorry, son. Good girl. Happiness to you. Mother did not talk to Brian for a week. When he could not stand it and just yelled at her, she cried. What Brian couldn't stand was a woman's tears, especially a mother's. His mother cried that Brian would forget about them, stop helping his older sister, poor Nancy, who has 2 boys growing up, yearlings, and who has no luck in life. Mom, are you crazy? Shouldn't I get married because of Nancy? You could have waited, helped the boys get on their feet. It's not too late for a guy to get married at 40. It's Nancy, the girl, who has to settle down. And here you are with your marriage. It'll cost a lot of money. Mom, am I asking for money? I earn my own money, and I'll do the wedding myself. Are you not giving the kids money for camp this month? Mom, I did last month. And for camp too. And anyway, kids have fathers. Mom, I don't have anything to do with it. I'm helping out. That's it, cried the mother. Before he got married, he didn't want to help his sister anymore. At the wedding my mother pressed her lips together and kept counting how much money had been spent. The young people began to live separately from everyone. Linda got an apartment from one grandmother, Vlad from another, so housing were provided. But Brian said that in time they should buy a bigger and more spacious apartment, and rent this one. It was not too much money. The first serious scandal between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law occurred when Brian asked his mother to give him his card. He had no time for it. Linda would come by, he said. The mother did not say anything to her son on the phone, but as she yelled at Linda that she only wanted money from Brian, that she was taking the last thing from the orphans, Linda ran out of her mother-in-law's apartment cursing. The card was brought back an hour later by her father-in-law. He was ashamed. He apologized to Linda. Linda decided not to say anything to her husband, so as not to inflame the situation. Furthermore, Brian's mother called Linda and yelled at her that she was using Brian's money. Although she had no right to do so, he should give half of his salary to them, because they help her unhappy daughter to bring up 2 boys. One day Linda could not stand it, and not that she complained, but told Vera, her brother's wife. She of course told everything to her husband. Vlad talked to Brian. Brian asked Lena why she kept silent. Of course there was a scandal. He strictly ordered his mother not to dare to call his wife, as well as to come and look in her direction until he learned to behave like a human being. Father, you are always welcome. Come in. Linda loved you, and father-in-law always invites you. You're sorry, but without mother. Meanwhile, Brian's mother was complaining to everyone that her mother's cuckoo had gone cuckoo during the day, that she was using all her son's money, and that he was not blowing his nose. His sister needed help, and he was going to resorts with his FIFA. Mom, asks Brian, am I your kin? You what? What are you saying that I gave birth to you in agony? In agony you say, but the feeling is that I'm your neighbor's dearer. Your first priority is Nancy. That's all. No one else exists. Mother began to grasp for heart, to drink sedatives, but Brian waved his hand and left. Actually, he wanted to share a joyful event. They will have a baby, or rather a little girl. They had already thought of a name, Sophia. Brian came to his parents with this news, but he had no sooner crossed the threshold than his radiant mother told him that everything seemed to have improved for Nancy, and she was getting married. That's why Brian asked if he was his own. The son didn't tell his mother anything. She wouldn't have heard the happy news. But still they decided to invite her too. When they gathered the whole family to tell the good news, Linda insisted. She was depressed. She thought that Brian and her mother had quarreled because of her. The mother-in-law came. She was nice to everyone, cheerful, but when she found out the reason for the family gathering, she burst into tears. But not from happiness. Egoist, sobbed mother-in-law. It's you on purpose. A louse. She shouted in the direction of frightened Linda. You are jealous that Nancy's life is going. You do not give peace to the fact that the boys will move to us to live, and that Brian will have to support them. Nancy's life is finally working out. She and Boria are going to have a baby. You got pregnant on purpose. You scum. You bastard. Well, get out. Linda's mother stood up. If men can't put you in your place, then I'll tell you. Disrespectful sister-in-law. Get out of here. And don't even dare to breathe in the direction of my child. I'll crush you on one leg, and yank you by the other. Got it? It was funny and scary to see how Linda's little mom was stepping on Brian's big mom. How ashamed Brian and his father were. How they blushed and worried. But Linda's dad quickly took them and Vad out to the balcony, and they talked about something while Mama and Vera jumped around the crying Linda. Everything calmed down. Brian only talked to his father. Of course he loved his nephews, and he and Linda had long ago discussed that some part would be given to the boys from the family budget. Brian met with Nancy, who was always busy, and could not even come to her brother's wedding. Was having a vacation with another applicant for her hand and heart, who did not burn with any desire to ask for her hand, and after a fun vacation, disappeared in a haze of blue. Brian found out that the fathers of the boys, well, it so happened that before giving birth to one, she married another and gave birth to a boy. So, the fathers of the boys pay alimony. Not millions, but the men are responsible. The boys are visiting their grandmothers from the side of the fathers, with the fathers see too. Why did you give the boys to their parents? Brian looks at her older sister sternly. What do you care? She says with a challenge. You won't get a penny from me. You understand? I'm sorry. That's not all. If I find out that you receive alimony, not the mother, and I will find out, I'll arrange a sweet life for you. So that today the card with money for the children was at the mother, plus child allowances, and plus your share of the children from the salary. If you don't have all that, if you don't have a penny in your pocket, you and your mother both hold on. I'll file for custody of the kids. The kids' fathers won't mind. I've already talked to the men. They don't like that you're using their money to support your who knows who. So, I'll file for termination of your parental rights. We'll do it, honey, don't worry. The boys will live with me and Linda, and you will naturally pay child support, according to the law. Understand? You don't have to run and complain to your mother. I told her the same thing. She's lying with a towel on her head, drinking sedatives. No one had ever seen Brian so angry before. Neither his mother nor Nancy. The jokes are over. They realized. It's that cuckoo who taught him to cuckoo. The mother pulled out her favorite song, but the father shouted at her so much that she bit her tongue. For real. And lay still. Nancy changed her mind about giving the boys to her mother. Her father said that from his salary and pension, he had retired earlier on seniority. He would not give a penny more, but only if he wanted to pamper the boys himself. He told his mother that if he dragged Nancy everything, he would divide the apartment and live alone, which again drove his mother to the couch and a towel on her head. You understand, said the father. You make Nancy worse. Do you think I do not love her? Or I don't feel sorry for her? But instead of giving her a good kick, you're giving her a crutch. She's used to fluttering around like a butterfly, knowing that her mother will give her money and fulfill her every whim. That's it, mother. Don't expect any help from me. I'm ashamed in front of my son, and my granddaughter will be born soon. I'll help them. I decided so. Not satisfied. Let's divorce. I'm also tired. Half a lifetime pulling her. All the strength pulled. I don't want to study there. I won't study here. I won't live with this. I won't live with that. That's it. I'm tired. That's enough. I have no more strength. His mother could not accept these new rules, could not persuade herself to live according to the new rules. No matter how sorry Brian was, his parents separated. He visited his mother, brought her groceries, listened to how tired she was, how hard it was for her to babysit Nancy's hoard, that her health was no longer the same. The children demanded attention, and Nancy with his then in the woods, then on a rafting trip, then in the mountains, and it all costs money and takes up a lot of time. But Nancy is afraid that her husband may leave if she does not share his passion. So she follows him. And then she came and said, "Something pickles want pickles, with honey." I almost fell down, and I said, "What?" And she smiled like a blessed woman. Caustic said she wanted a daughter. Brian listened to everything and went home. He had already gotten used to the fact that his mother didn't even ask him how he was living, how her granddaughter, Sophia, was doing. She probably doesn't know how old Sophia is. Brian thinks with resentment. But what is their years? She doesn't even know her name. A neighbor once reported how sitting on the bench, the mother called her granddaughter girl, saying that she has a granddaughter. A girl. When the neighbors asked why they didn't see Brian's daughter at her grandmother's house, the mother said she had enough grandchildren of her own. Of course Sophia has two grandfathers, grandmother, uncle and aunt. But so offended Brian is when growing up Sophia asks why daddy, when he goes to his mother, does not take her with him. He did once. The grandmother didn't even look in her granddaughter's direction and started her own song about Nancy and her children. Her daughter never asked to go to her grandmother's house again. Sitting on the bench, Brian's mother tells everyone what a snake her son's wife is, turned the guy away from his family. The woman complains, "And after all, what was nice? Even his payroll card I had. But he messed with that snake. She also gave birth to a child." Neighbors shake their heads. It is necessary. Because of her hatred and blind maternal love for one child, she lost her whole family. But she does not understand. sits and curses that snake.